What's up, everybody? J.W. Peters here, local Forge in Kentucky, and today I've got the new ribbon burner fired up and going. We're going to test her out by making some Damascus and maybe forging out a wolf puffer too. So let's get it and growl. Alright, if you guys have been around long enough, either watching my stuff on my Forge page and following along, or if you're a Forge and Fire fan, you know with Damascus, prep is everything. If you get it clean, you know, before you start, and then take your time, you're going to have a good forge weld, and that's whether you're using a press or whether you're setting it by hand. You know, take Forge and Fire for example. On the episode that I was in, I spent a lot of time prepping my Damascus, getting my cans how I wanted them, and I think one of the judges even remarked on it. But, you know, went into it with the mindset knowing that that clock was going to put some stress on you and make you feel rushed and in a hurry. And, you know, I was mentally prepared to make sure that that first step was done right, no matter how long it took. So I just took my time and I got everything prepped and clean, and for the most part it you know, it did how I expected it to do. The warp, I knew it was going to get a warp, but originally I had planned to make my 3 cans and then cut them in 2, so I was going to have 6 layers, and I wanted to put ball bearing, railroad spike, 1095, so I can have a nice pattern on the outside, you know, keep those steels even all the way throughout. Unfortunately, one of my billets had an inclusion in the end of it, and I had to cut it off and ended up using 3. But today we're going to make, I don't know what we're going to make yet. I'm thinking we're going to make some twist, but I've got some new dies for my press. This is one of them. So normally when I make my Kentucky buckshot, I'll take my Damascus and I'll drill a bunch of holes about 1/3 of the way through my billet while it's still about 3/8 of an inch thick, and then when you forge it out, it makes those circles that you see in the pattern. Buddy Johnny Raymer made these dies for the press, so I'm wanting to try them out, so maybe we'll do that. Or you know what, maybe we'll do something that we have never done before, and that I don't think I've ever seen done. I'm sure I'm not the first to do it. But maybe we'll do some twisted buckshot. How about that? So I got my steel all laid out here. This is 1080, and this is 15N20. So this has a much higher nickel content. This one gives you the shiny lines in your Damascus. So I've got everything marked out, ready to cut. Looks like I'm gonna have about a 25 layer initial billet. So let me cut them out and clean them up, and then we'll see if we can forge weld them. tacked up, welded up, and clean. And getting the forge up now, ready to put them in there. And we got 17 layer billet and 9 layer billet. So 9 layer, I'm going to do a low layer twist with for some custom orders that I have. And then this other one, like I said, the other one, we're going to do a twist, and we're going to do raindrop for Kentucky buckshot. So twisted buckshot, and no idea what it's going to look like, but that's one of the great things about Damascus. It never gets old when you get it to the point where you can reveal the pattern in there with that edge. So stay tuned, and we'll see what's up. Hey, what's up, y'all? J.W. Peters back at you again with Old Wolf Forge. Finished up a long, hard day of forging. Trying the new Twisted Buckshot Damascus. Anxious to see what that's going to look like. And end result of my day of forging, I forged out a little pup here for an order. And here is the Damascus that I forged. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 billets. Y'all saw what I started with, so probably lost about half of it so far. Now we're on the inside shop, and it's time to start getting some of these cleaned up and see what the pattern looks like eventually. So let's get it in grout. Well, I got here's a piece of the Twisted Buckshot, and I'm going to mark a blade in this and cut it out. For this, I want to do a little bit of stock removal on the blade because I want to see what that pattern's really going to look like without it being distorted. So let's get her cut out and see what her knife's going to look like. We'll just do a little drop. All right, so here we got our first knife. I'm afraid that I cut this out backwards. In other words, when you forge a Damascus billet, typically the ends of the billet are not going to show as much of the pattern because it's what you're holding them with, and just for different reasons. And so I meant to cut the handle out of the tip of the billet and the tip out of the center of the billet, and I'm pretty sure I did that backwards. But we're gonna put her in some Ferric and get a quick test etch. Well, here is what we got. I think this side I'm debating whether I will sand that down some more to get a little more pattern to show here. I may just leave it like it is. But anyway, it's gonna look pretty cool.
With the boat tattoo, she's got a bad down there for the crime.
We've got them all sanded down. There's one, and there's number two. And now I'm gonna put handles on them, and hopefully putting handles on maybe will help out some of you guys that are just learning knife making. I use a method that's it's different than anything I've seen, and I'm not saying I invented it. I'm sure there's somebody else out there that does it, but this method makes it much easier for me to keep the fronts of my scales even, keep everything clean, and it's pretty fast too. So what I've done is I've taken some maple burl and cut them into scale size pieces. So there we go. I want them to always come up past the front of my finger well a little bit, and then that's going to get shaped you know, to what it needs to be for the knife. And you can do all kinds of shapes in the front. So there's the other one. So what I do is I tape them together just like they're going to go on the knife. So this is the outsides, and then I'm going to come over here to my mill or drill press, whatever you have is fine. And I'm going to drill the front hole. Alright, now here's what I do a little bit different. That was a 3/16 bit, and so I've got a 3/16 inch wooden dowel rod. It's actually just a hair bigger, even though they say they're 3/16, they're a little bit bigger. And I'm going to taper the front of it off a little bit. Alright, and we're going to put her right through there. Cut off excess. Alright, and now we're going to make one for the back. Just pop this bad boy back on here. There we go. And that will hold your blade in place while you drill your back hole. There we go. So now I can mark where I want my scales to what was on that. Come back over here to the grinder, and then what we're going to do here is going to finish out the front of these, meaning I'm going to sand them to the curve. I'm going to go ahead and sand them out to a higher grit. I'm going to buff them, so once I put these on the knife, the fronts are done. You don't want to have to sand the front of these after they're on the blade, because it's almost impossible to you know, sand them down or reshape them without messing your blade up, and especially with Damascus, which is what we're doing. So, all right, got my dust control hooked up, and let's shape them. These are ready to put on the knife, and I've got another set to do for the other knife, and then once I get that done, show you how we put them on the knife and get them shaped. There's two ways you can do this next step depending on the finish of the knife. All right, if it's a shiny finish like this little guy, you can go ahead and glue it up, put the pins in it, clamp it, because you're going to sand all that anyway. Or if you want your tang to have a shiny finish, even with a, you know, an etched knife or a Damascus knife, a lot of people do that. I've done it. I do it sometimes. Then you can go ahead and glue them up. But in this case, I'm going to show you how to finish the handles and then finish the knife afterwards. So we'll take our dowels and put them in. And you probably already see where I'm going with this. Okay. At this point, it's where you want to make sure that it is good and flat. And looks like I got a little bit of sanding to do. So, let's grab a hammer. Drive them pins through. And there you are. You can also put a drop of super glue on the scales. Something else that I have done is you can take a piece of blue tape, put it on the scale like this, then put your super glue on there. 2 or 3 drops. Put your scales on, let super glue dry, and then they're stuck pretty good, but that'll actually pop back off there fairly easy because of the tape, and then you can sand the tape off. Let me go sand this bad boy flat, and we'll get this one on. Alright, I've got them pinned up, What I'm going to do now is I'm going to finish these handles pretty much all the way out, which will also finish the tang out, and then we're going to take them off and we're going to etch our Damascus. Spent about probably between 5 and 10 minutes in ferric chloride, and then neutralized it, cleaned it up, and we put it in an instant coffee bath, and it's been in there for about an hour. So let's take a peek. There we go. That is, what layers was that thing? 11 or 13 layer Kentucky buckshot. Etch is showing up nice along the spine. So I'm glad we decided to leave that on there. And here, let's look at the other one. This is the lower, the 7 layer. Also looking very cool. Nice pattern on the spine. You could actually probably clean these up and go ahead and put handles on them, but I'm going to let them just soak in there for a little while longer while I have some other stuff to take care of. So with a coffee bath, the cool thing about it is you really can't do it wrong. You know, you use really hot water. For a container this size, I used over a half jar of instant coffee. Let me show you what kind. This kind here, which is the cheapest kind they make. So if I run into another brand cheaper, I'll use it. So get the cheapest that they make. I'll use about probably half to 3/4 of this jar for a container that size. So you're mixing it really, really thick, really hot. Throw it in there. Let it sit. I've also used L8, which we call Winchester swamp water around here. And so you can use anything that's corrosive like that, any type of soda or whatever. So, but instant coffee is tried and true. So if you hadn't tried that for your Damascus, that's a good way to do it. So while that is sitting in there, I'm going to fool around with some other things and just let it sit there and oxidate a little bit. Alright, so got her etched, clean this one up, and could let it darken up, but I kind of like a lighter looking etch. So for this one, we're going to leave a light etch on it. Next step is to take our handles and fit them to the knife permanently. So to do that, I like to use Corby bolts. You could go ahead and use any stock the same size as the holes that you drilled. Corby bolts they have a center shaft that's a certain size, and then the head on them is actually a little bit bigger. So the ones I use have a 3/16 inch shaft and a 1/4 inch head. So we will bore out these 3/16 inch holes to 1/4, and you don't go all the way through. And then what that does, when you tighten them down, they screw together. Gives you a mechanical bond. You can actually put these on with no epoxy, and they would hold just fine. Of course, we're going to use epoxy too, because other than just holding the scales on, it also creates a waterproof seal. So I'm going to go ahead and countersink these, and then we'll get them on the knife. So before I glue them up, I'm going to put them on here. There they go. And there's a neat little trick. You can take wax, whatever you want to use. I use Vaseline. And I'm going to put it anywhere that I don't want this epoxy to stick, which is going to be anywhere right next to the scales. So we'll put it on the spine. We'll put it on the top of the scales. Put it on the back of the scales. Because if it sticks, we're going to have to sand it off, and then we just defeated the purpose of preforming the scales. They also make some bolts called loveless bolts. You can use Chicago screws. Several things that'll help you countersink like that and give you an additional mechanical bond. I like to add a little light dye, just a drop, to my epoxy. And I want to just put enough on here that it's just barely going to squash out. Put my bolts through there first. Go. Good deal. Here's one. And then we'll put number 2 on here. Screwdriver. Let's not use that one. So there's several ways you could finish the handle out. It's stabilized wood, so I just buffed it. All right, my next step is to buff the handle up. And it'll come to a nice shine. You could also oil it. I use boiled linseed oil, but you could use teak oil or true oil, or several different products. But when it's stabilized, I like to just buff it out. Gives it a decent little shine and still got grip. It's a good feeling knife. So there you go. I'll come back and keep checking it to make sure epoxy's not seeping, but I think we're good to go. All right, guys and gals, so there you have it. All finished with knife number 1. And I've actually already put this one up on the sales page, and we had a drawing for it, and somebody wanted it, so we'll be getting it shipped out here in the next day or two. But that is what we ended up with. So, nice little knife. Knife number 2 I'll probably finish here in the next few days, and I'll go back and edit this video and add it to the end of it. But if you want to, let's take a look. And it's been in the coffee for 24 hours now, so see what we're looking at here. So yeah, that one is going to be super cool as well. So I appreciate you guys taking the time to watch this, and if you like it, hit that like button and subscribe. I'm going to try to do more of these and maybe some shorter instructional videos. So thank you for your support, and it's time for me to get back to the forge. Thank you.